Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back. It is, of course, former representative, former judge, great friend of mine, Ted Poe. Ted, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. Thank you, Joe.
Let me ask you something, and I think that you'll be honest with me. You've been pretty honest for about 21 years that we've known each other. Do people in Congress think we're stupid?
Yes.
Just a general question. They must, right? They have to. Mike Johnson walked out yesterday, Ted. You saw this. He walked out and he said, I hate it. I don't want to do it, but it's not an omnibus. It's not a minibus. It's a continuing resolution. Now, I understand the definition of continuing resolution to be, let's keep on going at the current spending rate. But then when you try to read the 1,547 pages, which nobody can read in 19 hours, it says they're going to build a new stadium in Washington, D.C. It says members of Congress get a pay raise from 174 to 223. It says that we're going to keep on funding some global entity that censors conservatives online. It gives $100 billion to storm relief, which I think we all would agree with, but then some other billions to go over here. Ted, I mean, I'll go back to my initial question. They have to think we're stupid, right?
Well, they must, at least the majority who are going to vote for the continuing resolution. It continues to fund the government at the same rate it has been funded since the last continuing resolution. But there are a few little perks that are thrown in to get people to vote for the continuing resolution, like the RFK Stadium. Like Turbyville says, they can't even keep the grass mowed in D.C., and they're going to build a new stadium at taxpayer expense cost. But that's a continuing resolution, and it's only good for a certain amount of time. That means people who have been getting money are these entities, government waste, that's been going on, they're going to continue to get it. So if they don't pass the continuing resolution, they don't pass it, the government shuts down, what happens? Well, not a whole lot happens, except 2/3 of the budget keeps getting paid even without the continuing resolution. What is that? Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and some defense, and the interest on the national debt. That's 2/3 of the budget that's not even involved in the continuing resolution.
I want to stop you there. I got to stop you there because that's great information. It's Ted Poe. Go follow Ted Poe everywhere. So 2/3 of the government keeps on being paid for. When they threaten this, government's going to shut down, and the Republicans are bad, and the Democrats are good, and why would they do this? Oh, my God, grandma's not going to get to have Christmas dinner. That's all just a lie. That's just a scare tactic.
Absolutely, that's a lie. Those entities that I mentioned to you, they're going to keep getting funded because Congress a long time ago passed a bill that those entities will continue to get funded. So we're talking about 1/3 of the money that is spent, and that covers all of these earmarks. It does cover transportation, the Department of Education, some defense, and other entities, the Department of Agriculture, those entities. And then the government, namely the administration, whoever it is, has the ability, if the government shut down, no money's still coming in, it's just not being spent. But if there's money coming in that can be spent, the administration can decide how to have discretion to spend that. You always hear about non-essential government employees. Some say that's all government employees, but non-essential government employees aren't going to get paid. Oh my goodness. Well, they later get paid. They also get, they get back pay for all of the time that they weren't getting paid. So all of that down the road, that will be paid. It's
all retroactive. So even if you shut it down for a little while, it's all retroactive. It's all going to be caught up anyway, the 1/3 that isn't funded. So the 2/3 is funded. So again, you don't have to cram this down. Like Mike Johnson walked out yesterday hanging his head. Oh, I hate to have to do it, but we can't have just to continue. And it's not. Ted, there's something in there called the Global Engagement Center that's getting another year's worth of pay. We're going to fund this place that we now know, because it's been uncovered on X or Twitter, that they were censoring conservatives. It's in there. So let me ask you this. If they were to pass this CR on Friday, I hope they don't, but if they do, and this place gets funded for a year, even though the CR ends in March, can you defund them in March when you have a new spending plan, or is that on the books and you can't take it away?
Well, technically it's on the books, but Congress can always pass a law to change things that they have done. They cannot be prohibited from changing the rules, but they'd have to pass that law. They would have to get it, through the House and through the Senate. The president have to sign it. So normally what you just said is true. That is funded for the next fiscal year, which ends in September.
Wow.
And that is part of the problem. We don't have a budget. We talk about that every year. That we've had 200 continuing resolutions in the last 40 years. I mean, there's a continuing resolution all the time. It's, Congress needs to do its job, get on with the program, introduce legislation that deals with one entity. Don't put in a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
To get the first bill passed, deal specifically with one entity, one law, one decision. And that's the way Congress ought to do business. But it doesn't do business that way.
Ted, isn't it in the Constitution that they have to have a budget? How have they gotten away with not doing a budget for 40 years? How did that work?
Because they don't pass one. That's how. They don't pass a budget.
And they throw their hands up and go home? What is that? I can't do that. Can you do that? I can't. Well, I got to pay my. I told the bank I'm not going to pay anything for a while. They said, "Okay, give me your house." How do they get away with it?
Well, they not only don't have a budget, they wouldn't meet the budget if they had a budget.
True.
So it's easy to go over a budget that you don't have. Anyway, it doesn't make sense to us out here in the fruited plain, as Rush Limbaugh would say, about how Congress does business or doesn't do business. And we need a tremendous overhaul with the whole concept of passing a budget for the American people. We've proven that what we're doing is not working. And it works.
What blows me away, Ted, I don't mean to interrupt. What blows me away, and you and I talked about this at length, when Nancy Pelosi was getting the gavel taken away from her, she was no longer the speaker. The Republican majority that was coming in allowed her to set the budget for the next fiscal year before she left. It was so stupid, I can't even breathe. Now we're going to set some budget that basically has the applause and the support of the Democrats, and Joe Biden can't wait to sign it before we get the House, the Senate, and the executive. What are the Republicans thinking? Why did they think we just handed them the win? We wanted them to take action.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Wanted them to take action, and now we got the budget. We're going to have for Biden is what I started to say. Biden to sign. It doesn't make sense going back to the last continuing resolution for how long it was, and now we're having the chickens that come home to roost. Now it's going to be this massive continuing resolution. Biden will sign it. Didn't give Trump the opportunity to work on a new budget.
I mean, if it goes through, I'm going to say if, because it looks like it will, but because of the uprising on X and other places, it's starting to look like there are a lot of people lining up to say, I'm not going to vote for it. And Ted, one last question on this. I think I just said that, but here's the last question. Couldn't they, if it were a clean CR, like they keep calling it a clean CR, where we want to fund the people who are in hurricane-ravaged Western North Carolina, we could have said spending remains exactly the same, plus $50 or $100 billion to the people who need it in Western North Carolina. That could have been one page, right?
Could have done that instead of whatever it is, 1,500 pages. Absolutely could have done that, and that should have been done. Those specific things that needed to be done, like the hurricane relief, that's one that needed to be done, and of course they put in about the stadium and a bunch of other stuff. And why is that in there? It's in there to get people to vote for it, especially Democrats.
The huevos it takes, and that's a Texas word for those who don't know, the huevos that it takes for Congress to say, we're going to give ourselves a pay increase. Ted, look at my face. It hurts. I'm in pain here. And they just thought thank God for like Rand Paul. Thank God for you. Thank God for people like Gates who are raising the red flag going, no, this isn't okay. Chip Roy is another good one. Jim Banks is another good one. These people are saying, what are you crazy? We're not just going to cram this through. Do you think they can stop it?
I don't know. I really don't know if they will be able to.
Because every Democrat's going to vote for it.
Oh, yeah. The Republicans are in charge. And so the Republicans are going to the Democrats to get the continuing resolution passed. That's how they're going to get it passed.
It's pretty sick. It's Ted Poe, former U.S. representative, former judge, also a former expert dog trainer. You got to go check out his puppies are the best. We always appreciate that. Let's talk about the pardon of Hunter Biden. And should Trump take that? Not even just that. The pardon of like Chinese spies, the pardon of 15 or the clemency for 1,500 other criminals that Biden's doing. It's like everybody gets a pardon, everybody gets a commutation. Should Trump take that lead and say, Everybody from January 6th is either commuted or pardoned. Enough is enough. Should he do that?
He should do that independent of Biden.
Okay.
Pardoning a bunch of people that ought to be in jail for the rest of their lives. So I think that he should look at those cases, and especially those individuals who were just standing out there on the Capitol grounds who get arrested. There needs to be a further investigation of the 23 FBI informants who were there participating, or at least present, during the January 6th event. So yes, I think President Trump ought to look at that right away at those people. Some of those people.
And by the way, those informants that were there, you already know this, the majority did commit crimes. They broke the law. Not a one has been prosecuted.
That's true. And they ought to be looked at. And I think they're the ones that need to be charged and looking for pardons down the road. The people who have been in jail, solitary confinement, haven't seen a lawyer, any of those people who've been in the custody being charged with any type of offense, minor offenses, and Trump ought to look at all of those. And I think he is. And he may pardon some, he may not pardon others.
How do you feel about the three Chinese, two were spies we know of. One had 47,000 images and videos of child pornography on his computer. We traded them for some hostages or something that China was holding. Is that palatable or not? It's not to me, but
not.
Okay.
It's not. They're spies. That's the worst person in the United States is a spy from a foreign country trying to get information about us, how they can do us harm down the road. And China's the number one intelligence gatherer of Americans. And now they're using spies. And what do we do with them? We catch them, we try them, and okay, we'll let you go back home to China, says Biden. That doesn't make any sense. They ought to remain in jail to let people know you don't spy on the United States. Otherwise, you're going to be there forever in jail.
He's done a lot to benefit China in his 4 years. He's done a lot to benefit Ukraine in his 4 years. He has talked tough on Russia, but hasn't done anything really against Russia in his 4 years. Ted, is this just clear evidence that he's compromised by at least all three of those countries?
You can make a pretty strong case that he's compromised by all three of those countries, and just by what has happened and what he hasn't done with all three of those individuals. And Ukraine, how can anybody say that we should continue to pour millions of dollars into that corrupt country and not use that money for building the border wall, taking care of those thousands of people in North Carolina that are homeless, and yet we're going to dump money over there in Ukraine? It looks to me like it's sort of a payback for the administration to Ukraine for some nefarious operations in the past.
$200 billion. It's mind-blowing. It's Ted Poe. Go follow him at Judge Ted Poe over on X. The Democrats are showing up everywhere, on media, on social media, wherever they can be seen and heard, and they're all making excuses for, we just didn't do a good enough job with the messaging. You know, Donald Trump went on podcasts, and Vivek Ramaswamy did this, and Elon Musk did that, and Joe Rogan did the other thing. They just say that they just didn't do as good a job on messaging. What do you think about that?
Well, they're wrong again. They're always wrong.
Imagine
the
that.
Messaging wasn't the issue. We got the message. The American public got what their message was. That's why they were defeated. Their message was anti-American individuals in the country. They hate everybody. That's the basis of their whole campaign, was hate. And of course, they want control of every aspect of our lives. From what kind of light bulb we use to what we can say and what we can't say.
Right.
And of course, they do that by fear. Now, that was their message. And Americans said, you know, I don't like that message. I kind of like Trump's message, which he's kind of likes America. He kind of likes me. And so we're not idiots like the left thinks. We're just positive Americans, and we're going to vote for America. And we're not going to. Why would you ever vote for somebody who hates America?
I have no idea. 70 million plus did, which blows my mind. But so what you're saying is the messaging was fine. The message just sucked.
That's right.
Okay.
We got the message, and everybody rejected it. And most of the country rejected it. And a vast number of states rejected the message.
It is former U.S. Representative Ted Poe. Ted, yesterday you had Kamala Harris come out. I'm not sure if she's on something. She just seems different to me now. But she comes out and basically says, you don't just take defeat, you roll up your sleeves and you keep on going, you're determined. Ted, I think that she was signaling that she wants to be the nominee again in 4 years. I, by the way, would welcome that because she's easy to beat, I think. But what do you think about that? Is she just delusional? Is somebody telling her get back out there and stay in the fray? Gavin Newsom, thinks he's the next guy. You got Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan thinks she's the lady. So what do you think about Kamala Harris either being delusional or maybe she thinks she could raise $2 billion more and waste it?
She didn't get the memo that she lost the election, and she didn't change. She's still the same Kamala Harris that has the cackle. And I hope she gets the nomination in 4 years. That'll be another win for whoever the Republican nominee is. She's her own worst enemy. And she's not, she's living in the twilight zone.
I agree.
Maybe that's where all the drones are coming from. But anyway, she just doesn't have a clue. And she lost. She doesn't really accept it. She wants to run again, which is fine. She ought to run again. But she, like I said, just watch her. She's her own worst enemy.
I could not agree more. You brought up the drones. Let's quickly go there. There's no possible way on this planet that this government doesn't know where the drones are coming from, right? They're pretending like, first they said there's no corroborating evidence. Then they say, well, no, there's nothing to see here. Well, it's not a foreign actor, but they won't tell us what the hell they are. They know, right?
Oh, yes, they know. And it's another example that you can't trust our federal government, especially the intelligence and the law enforcement agencies, the Justice Department and the CIA and FBI. I would hope they know where they're coming from, and they're telling us, no, we really don't know. We're investigating those 5,000 possible sightings of drones, and we'll get back with you on that. Can't trust the government. I think they know. I think they ought to level with us about something. Tell us what they know, what we can get to know, and quit telling us they don't know anything. That's dangerous.
Literally look at the camera, like you said, and say, we do know what's going on. You're safe. You're good. As soon as we can tell you more, we will, but we're on it. But they're not even saying that. They're pretending like the first week and a half, they're like, I don't see any drones. What drones? What are you talking about? Last
we don't
question.
Have any evidence of drones. They told us there was no evidence of drones.
It's everywhere.
Standing out there in New Jersey, say, well, that's what it looks like to me is a drone, and you got the federal government saying there are no drones.
There's something going on. Ted, 20 seconds on this. Will Biden pardon himself, his brother, his sister, his wife, and his daughter?
I think he'll pardon some of those family members you mentioned. I don't know if he'll pardon himself or not, but I think he'll pardon the rest of the Biden family.
I agree. He wasn't going to pardon Hunter. We all knew that he was going to. So him pardoning everybody else, what does it matter at this point? He just doesn't seem to care. It is Ted Poe. Go follow him at Judge Ted Poe. Come down here soon. Let's go grab some lunch, can we?
All right. I'll do it.
All right, brother Ted, we appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Joe.
All right, we'll talk soon, my friend. We're back after this. Stay right here.